What is up, everybody? This is Anthony with VR365. What is going on? It is Friday. It is May 3rd, and it is 2:22 p.m. Twos across the board. Sorry I'm a little bit late on this one, guys, but you know what? I got to tell you, I was banging away till the very last minute trying to prepare my breakdowns for the 20 things that I absolutely hate about the Valve Index. Oh my God, I hate it so much. Okay, no, I don't really hate the Valve Index that much. Let's turn this trailer way down. Oh wait, that's the NDI source. Let's turn the trailer way down here. Okay, guys, so what we're going to do today, so the title of this show, if you actually look at the actual title, it's 20 things that suck about the Valve Index. Now, if you look at the thumbnail, it's 20 things I hate about the Valve Index. And the question is, do I really hate anything about the Valve Index? Not really. I mean, come on, not really. I don't really hate anything about the Valve Index, but everybody is kind of out there. A lot of people are out there, and they are praising the Valve Index to the high heavens. I know. Let's all praise Lord Gaben. A moment of silence for Lord Gaben, everybody. Okay, moment of silence has passed. And so, I'm super excited for the Valve Index. I want the Valve Index so bad. In fact, if there's a Valve employee watching this, please hit me up, man. info@vrgamerankings.com. I have my 1,000 big ones. I'm ready to go. The last time I checked, I think I'm on the July 31st wing, but I'd like to get bumped. I'd like to get bumped up. I'd love to get bumped up. And it's funny because I was looking in chat, like earlier in chat, Jim Hall was saying this title, a very bad way to try to get Valve to help you out as far as getting your index, a very bad idea. But yeah, basically what we're going to do here, guys, is what we're looking at is it's not so much 20 things that I hate about the Valve Index. It's 20 things that concern me about the Valve Index, or 20 possible nitpicks about the Valve Index. So these are a lot of the interesting things. But before we get started today, one thing I wanted to say, Hussein X, oh my God, Hussein X. So I'm getting, I do get PayPal donations. For example, Gregor Roethlisberger, $7. Robert Schubert very recently donated $20. And last night, Hussein X donated $100. Can you believe this? Hussein X donated a C note, a straight up C note. He donated $100 to VR365. How freaking incredible is that? A donation of $100. That is the highest PayPal donation that we have received up until this point. You could see Kent Oster donated $2 there. There was another donation that came in late that I didn't have time to make a little thing for that. But Hussein X, $100 donation. And he basically was saying that the $100, he's saying, look, Anthony, take this $100, throw it at the Valve Index, throw it at, the Acer Oho Concept D, throw it at the HP Reverb, whatever. But use this $100 towards a headset that you're really going to love. So, it's probably going to the Valve Index, and oh my God, incredible. So much love to Hussein X. That is definitely the biggest donation so far. Let's see if somebody can break that title, if somebody can take it away from Hussein X as the biggest donation thus far. Incredible. Absolutely. But you know what? We got a lot of stuff to get into today, so why don't we just go ahead and get I'm trying to wait to see if my little Hussein X thing popped up in... There it is, guys. Hussein X, 100 buccarinis. That is truly incredible. Hussein X with 100 buccarinis. That is remarkable. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to get into the valve index. Let's go ahead and do this thing, and we're going to talk about it's much better than giving it to the starving children in Africa, because I'm starving for 144 hertz, y'all. I really am. But you know what? I'm basically going to be devil's advocate right now, and I want to look at the worst aspects of the valve index, because there are a lot of people around the internet that are ranting and raving. They're like, oh my God, the valve index is the best thing since sliced bread. It is so incredible. It's going to make all of our dreams come true. And I hope that's the case. But what I've decided to do with this show is look at some stuff that I think is it's something we need to consider. And you know what? This is good. This is actually good for all of you guys. If you have a Valve Index pre-order that is locked in, if you're definitely getting a Valve Index pre-order, even if you're like a Valve Index fanboy, I think looking at the worst possible scenario situations is actually not a bad way to do it. Because you know what? It can lower your expectations a little bit. It can put your expectations in check a little bit. And you can remember that, you know what? All of these headsets, they all have positives. They all have negatives. Every headset has some kind of positive or negative. And we want to look at those positives. We want to look at those negatives. Today, we're looking at negatives, okay? We just happen to be looking at negatives today. All right, so let's go ahead and start this off, because I got 20 things to get through. And I will tell you that when we start off at number 20 and 19 and 18, you know, you're probably going to laugh at some of these things. But oh well, let's go ahead and start off and let's work our way through this. Okay, so here we go. It has begun. Number 20. Number 20 is no built-in wireless support. And you know, the reason I put this here at number 20 is because, in all honesty, was I expecting there to be wireless support on the Valve Index? No, I really wasn't expecting this. But I will say this, we all remember that time when Gaben was sitting there at that table, water bottle in hand. He had to get up and excuse himself, and he had to go get a water bottle, and he came back later. You guys remember that interview. I remember that interview. It was in that interview, he was talking about 200 hertz. He was talking about ridiculously high resolutions, and he also talked about wireless. And I think, look, I don't remember it exactly, but I'm pretty sure that Gaben said something about in 2018, wireless is going to be an add-on. In 2019, you're going to start to see wireless integrated into the headsets themselves. Okay, so Gaben was a little bit off on his predictions there, because here we are. We're in 2019. We're spending 1,000 buccarinos for the full bundle, and there is no built-in wireless. But the reason I have this at 20, not really expecting it, the other thing that we might be able to consider here, folks, is we do have that attachment thing on the front there. We do have the expansion port. Could wireless possibly come into that? Probably not, because, I mean, here's the thing. Yeah, you might be able to put a wireless thing in there, but what about the power? Where's the battery pack? So now if that's going to be the battery pack, then where's the wireless transmitter? So I don't think we're going to get wireless for the Valve Index. That is number 20 in our 20 pain points for the Valve Index. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. But you know what? In a couple of years, we might look back and think, man, can you believe the Valve Index didn't have built-in wireless? So, you know, it's something to think about, something to consider. Okay, let's go to number 19. So I'm doing this thing in a different way, and that's why it took me so long to get ready for this show. Instead of having everything listed out where you guys can read ahead in advance, I'm doing it like this, so you guys cannot read in advance. You got to wait for them to come. Okay, so number 19, the front window. Okay, they don't call it the Valve Windex For nothing. Yeah, the Valve Windex. And I was tempted, I really was tempted to make a thumbnail that would have a picture of a Valve Index and how it would have a big bottle of Windex sitting right next to it. And I basically just gave that thumbnail away. So whoever wants to make that incredible thumbnail for your YouTube video, go right ahead. But yeah, the front window, this plastic clear shield or whatever the hell it is on that front window, this is a minor annoyance. This is absolutely a minor annoyance, but we're talking about smear city, brah. Get that Windex ready. Have a couple of paper towels ready because you want to shine it up and clean it off. You want to wax it, just like a brand new car. You want to keep that thing clean on the front, and it's probably going to be a fingerprint magnet like none other. Smears, it gets dirty, blah, 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 blah. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. Of course, look, we're going to be scratching at the bottom of the barrel when we're doing this because, some people in chat were like, why 20? Why 20 things that you don't like? Why 20 things that you hate? Why not 10? We don't need 20. Well, whatever. I did it. Okay, so we did 20. Some of these are a little bit sketch. Front window will be smear city. Call it the Valve Windex. All right, that is the Valve Windex. Okay, let's go to number 18. It's funny. The Valve Windex part is a bigger issue than freaking not having wireless built in. Yeah, is that really the way it should be? Probably not. Okay, so here's number 18. And as we go down the line, there will be more discussion with some of these. Some of these won't have as much discussion with it. Okay, so number 18. I can't explain some of these out in a really short quote. So let me get my actual breakdown over here. Okay, so here's the thing. Now, the headset cord coming out of the Valve Index, your headset cord that is going to run over to wherever your little link box or whatever it is, that cord that you have, it has, I believe, DisplayPort 1.2, and then also a USB, and then it's got a connector for the little power adapter. Now, what I believe they should have done here, since this headset is releasing in the year 2019, and Valve is a part of the Virtual Link Consortium, okay, I think it should have been a Virtual Link cable that is coming out of there. Like just one singular cable. It goes to a Virtual Link connector at the end of it, and then have a dongle for whatever else you need. But put the dongle in the actual box. I'm not telling everybody you got to buy a $40 dongle. No, I'm saying put the dongle in the box, but just make it Virtual Link from Jump Street. Okay, Virtual Link from Jump Street is kind of what I'm talking about here. Again, it's a minor thing. It's a minor thing, but I guarantee you this is going to irritate some people out there. People that have the 20 series cards, they have the Virtual Link connector on there. They don't want to have all these spaghetti wires going different ways and then have the dongle and then it's Virtual Link. Most people out there that are rocking the 2080 Ti's, they would like to just have one beautiful cable going to its final destination. So number 18 should have been Virtual Link from the get-go with a DisplayPort dongle, not the other way around. Not the other way around. That's number 18. Again, these are kind of minor. I'll tell you when we start to get to some stuff that's some real stuff here. Okay, so that's a little bit minor. Okay, let's go to number 17. Number 17 on the list, and this is kind of related. Number 17, the index cord is too short. It's too short, okay? It's too short. I heard this in the stream where it was MRTV and Martin, Sweeviver and MRTV, and they were, this is when they were talking about all kinds of stuff there. And one of the things they mentioned is the index cord, I believe, is 5 meters in length. That's pretty darn short. Like, I think we should err on the side of giving some extra cord. I'd rather the cord be too long than be too short. I don't like these short cords. Some of us want to actually like put our link box on the ceiling and try to have our wires kind of wired up on the ceiling and then have the wire kind of dropping down. And when you start off with a short cable right from the very beginning, it makes all of these things kind of difficult. And again, now we're looking at, we got to extend the cord. A lot of us are going to have to extend the cord. Those of us that have these bigger man caves where our computer's a little bit farther away from where we're actually playing and we got to have that wire come out of there, we're going to have to extend the cord. So the index cord, too short at 5 meters, in my opinion. Yeah. Well, Oliver Cook says, yes, what the F? Why only 5 meters? And then right below him, Stoat Sack. 5 meters is not short. Okay, well, what's the length of the Oculus Rift cable? The thing is, some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about today might be incorrect. I might say some things that are really wrong or don't make sense. And you know what? I'm going to defend myself from the standpoint that I'm scrambling to try to put all this stuff together. So there's going to be some mistakes. I'm going to say some things that are incorrect. But my question really for those of you guys out there, does anybody know exactly how many meters a standard Oculus Rift cord is? Because that shit is way too short. Main Fan knows what I'm talking about. The original Vive actually gave you a pretty decent length. But the original Oculus Rift, that cable is short. So anyways, but yeah, I might be a little bit wrong with some of these things. Okay, so let's go ahead. 5 meters is huge. Wait. Okay, maybe I got something wrong. Wait, CV1 is 4 meters. Rift S is also 5 meters. I don't know, but anyway, I do remember this. The one thing I do remember is Sweeviver and Martin Sweeviver, and then also Sebastian MRTV, they were talking about the cable being too short. Okay, so maybe we're not at serious concerns yet. We're only at 17. Give it some time. Okay, so where are we going to go now? Let's go to 16. And 16, okay, here's where we get into actual serious stuff. Okay, here is where serious stuff comes down the pipe here, because the Valve Index controllers, at first, number 16 at first was going to say, here's what number 16 was going to say before I changed it. I changed it to have a number of issues. What I first was going to say is the Valve Index controllers are not as ergonomic as we would love them to be. And I got to caveat this thing by saying I've never put on Valve Index controllers ever. I've never put them on. So who the hell am I to talk about anything? Well, all I can do is live vicariously through the other YouTubers out there, especially Sebastian, because Sebastian of MRTV, he's said this a lot of different times. The Valve Index controllers are not as ergonomical as you would like them to be. One of the beautiful things about the Oculus Touch controllers, the ones that we have right now, Touch 1.0, they melt in your hands, man. They really do. They're better than M&Ms. They melt into your hands and they just like fade away into nothingness into your hands. They feel so good. I love the Touch 1 controllers. You know what? I'm a fanboy. I am a straight up fanboy for Oculus Touch 1.0 because those things do melt into your hands. And the Index controllers, not as ergonomic as we would like, but you'll notice here I have a number of issues. There's a number of issues. This is just one of the issues. There's a number of issues. Okay, number 2, Sweeviver. Sweeviver was talking at length. He was talking at length about the trigger. And this might just be a Sweeviver thing. Again, a lot of these things, I might actually get my Valve Index and realize that a lot of these are complete and utter jokes, but I don't have it right now. So I'm going to just do the best I can based on what I've heard from people and other concerns. But Sweeviver has talked about the trigger of the Valve Index controller, and he's just like, something's wrong with the trigger. Something isn't right about the trigger. He goes on and on about it. You'd really have to watch his video. I only heard it. I heard the audio version while I'm working at my work, but in the video, he kind of like tries to explain what he doesn't like about the trigger. But Sweeviver definitely has some concerns about the trigger. MRTV has concerns about ergonomics. Voodoo DE. YouTuber Voodoo DE, I believe Thomas, right? Thomas is Voodoo DE. I believe he has some complaints about the location of the thumbstick. that the thumbstick is not really located in a very good direction. Okay, so there's that as well. And then, of course, we could just get into the actual cost. The cost of the valve index controllers. I mean, these things are redonkulously expensive. I mean, I know they're very advanced and they have like 89 different sensors all over them, which is pretty freaking incredible. And they are very next level in certain ways. But god damn it, imagine if one of these babies breaks on your ass. Then what are you going to do? Because one controller is left, one controller is right. You got to get the replacement. You can't just buy a rando controller out there. You got to get the right replacement, so you're probably buying two more. So the valve index controllers, I mean, it remains to be seen what the reality is with these valve index controllers, but there are some issues. There are some issues. Again, whether or not these issues actually, maybe you don't find these issues to be accurate. Maybe you get these controllers and you're like, these are ergonomic as hell. There's no problem. These are perfectly ergonomic. Maybe you get them and you're like, the trigger button's fine. I don't know what Sweevivor's tripping out on. The trigger button is perfectly fine. Sweevivor is tripping. Okay, and Thomas Voodoo DE, he's tripping too because the thumbstick is in the perfect location. I don't know. I haven't actually tried these myself. Myself. What was I talking about there? Yeah, so, that's the valve index controllers. Maybe some concerns there. That's number 16. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab number 15. Number 15, come on down. Okay, so let's get into number 15. Okay, number 15, inside out tracking. Isn't this the future? Inside out tracking is the future, brah. The Oculus Quest has inside out tracking, no fuss, no muss. The Rift S, inside out tracking, no fuss, no muss. Now, some people might say, well, wait a minute here, Anthony, you're way out of bounds here, because the best tracking in the industry, bar none, is the Lighthouses. And I do agree about that. Okay, somebody's asking me, SML0033, what GPU do I use? I have a 1080 Ti. I have a 1080 Ti right about now. Okay, so the inside out tracking. So my thought process on inside out tracking is this is not a big deal right now, but the thing is the Valve Index, you buy this for $1,000, you're probably going to think that you're going to use the Valve Index for 3 or 4 years maybe before you buy another headset, or at least a very solid 2 years. And the point I want to make with the inside out tracking is about a year from now, it might seem really bass-ackwards that we are using outside in tracking. Because inside out does have some bonuses from the standpoint that you're not drilling holes in your walls, so there's no power drills required. You get a Valve Index, you do got to get a power drill out. You want to mount those puppies rock solid on your walls. I really think you do. The other thing is, have laptop will travel. Not necessarily with Valve Index. You get yourself a Rift S with a high-end gaming laptop like our boy Chris Richardson. Have laptop will travel. Okay, the Valve Index, pretty much dedicated man cave. It's going to stay in that man cave. It's going to live in that man cave. So inside out tracking, kind of a bonus. Honestly, this is really a non-issue for me, but I wouldn't, because other people are, like, some of these things are not my issues. Some of these things are other people's issues. So I considered all of my issues, and then I'm looking at other people. What are other people complaining about out there? So I did want to mention the inside-out tracking. Okay, so let's go to number 14. And as we continue to move down this list, we're going to step up. We're going to start stepping up in the problems, start to get a little bit more real, and they start to get a little bit more sketchatorical. And speaking of sketchatorical, wait, let me get a sip of water here. Hold on a sec. Okay, yeah. This is my gamer juice, brah. My gamer juice. For Play PSVR listeners, my gamer juice, agua. Straight H2O, bro. Yeah, it's a McCafe cup. I stop at McDonald's pretty much every day, and I get a large black coffee for $1, but it becomes a great water cup for me for the rest of the day. Okay, number 14. This is a big one. This is a big one. Okay, so one of the main things that we've been hearing about in regards to the valve index, one of the main things that everybody's been excited about in regards to the valve index is a bigger field of view. 135 degrees, 130 degrees, 125. I don't know. We don't have an exact breakdown on this. But what Valve has basically said is that the field of view is basically 20 degrees bigger. 20 degrees bigger than the Vive, 20 degrees bigger than the Oculus Rift. Okay, that's what we've heard. We haven't got an exact number here on the wider FOV, but we've heard 135 degrees, we've heard 130. Okay, now, what I mean by sketchy is the way this FOV came about is a little bit sketchy. There's 3 different factors that I think you need to consider here. Okay, so number one, these screens. Now, here's where my lack of expertise in this area is going to reveal itself, because I don't remember the exact breakdown of this, but one of the breakdowns of this is that the screens that are inside the screens inside the HMD are kind of bowed in a little bit at like a 5-degree angle. So they're kind of tilted a little bit, which is going to give you an extra FOV. It's going to give you an extra FOV, but it's a bit of a cheat. Okay, it's a bit of a cheat, but I'm not the technical guy. I don't know exact, like I heard bits and pieces of this, that this little 5-degree thing, it does make the field of view bigger, but it's a bit of a cheat. Now on the good side here, the good side is that because of the lenses, the way the lenses are designed with these dual lenses, these stacked lenses, that they account for that cheat, that 5-degree cheat. They account for that. That remains to be seen. I'm not exactly sure. But I know that the screens are kind of bowed in a little bit, 5 degrees each of them. So that's a little bit of a cheat right there. Another little bit of a cheat, binocular overlap has been reduced. And that's something that Hewlett-Packard did with the HP Reverb, and that might be part of the reason that Hewlett-Packard got to 114 degrees on their FOV, and then they're also saying that they have this really giant sweet spot. Well, they kind of stole a little bit of binocular overlap. They kind of cheated a little bit to try to do that. That is also something that's going on here with the Valve Index. And then the last part of the FOV being a bit sketchy is a big part of this whole FOV thing is if you can get those screens right up inside your eyeballs. And I'm the biggest fan of this. I've talked about this a million times. But you know what? HTC is not advertising this. Like, HTC could come out with a brand new headset that is called the HTC Vive 1.111. And this new headset, instead of having the standard face gasket, it has a custom designed 1 millimeter thickness face gasket. And then they can all of a sudden say, oh, the HTC Vive, it has a 125 degree field of view because your eyeballs are literally going to be having intercourse with this thing. And that's how you're going to get to a 125 degree field of view. So there's a little knob that is on the side, right? There's a little knob that's on the side, and apparently 1 centimeter difference is the equivalent of 30 degrees in field of view. So when we think of this 135 degree field of view, you got to think about somebody that isn't wearing glasses and somebody that has it at the maximum. You got to have it at the maximum, and then you got to hope that your head fits in there in the right way, and then you're really getting that field of view. And then the other thing you got to worry about is your eyelashes. You got to take a lighter, you got to burn those babies right off, because otherwise your eyelashes are going to be smudging the screen. It's an irritant. Or have your eyelashes surgically removed, all right? But basically the bottom line here is the wider FOV, still a little bit sketch. about it. I mean, I'm still very interested in it. I like it. I don't wear glasses. I will have my eyeballs making love to this thing, so it's going to be fine for me. I'm going to get all that FOV, I believe. But I'm just saying the way they got this FOV is a little bit. It's almost like I wouldn't say it's false advertising, but it's kind of like it's like, whatever. You guys get it. Okay, so let's go to number 13. Spent a little while on that one, so let's go to number 13. Okay, here we go. Number 13. All right, the off-ear headphones. The off-ear headphones. Awesome, right? The off-ear headphones are incredible. It's a game changer. Chet Falazek said that. In fact, on his way out, he freaking stole one of these babies. No, I mean, they probably gave him one. But these off-ear headphones, it's a game changer, right? It's a game changer because you have these headphones floating out there, and it's basically not even headphones. They're little speakers. They're hovering speakers. You know what the next gen of this is going to be? Is actual speakers on little miniature tiny drones that are just hovering. Like they're not even connected to the headset. Could you guys imagine this in the future? Seriously, like in the long distance future, you turn on your headset and two little drones go. And then the drones are in position, and the drones just freaking hover, and they deliver sound to you like, 3 feet away from your head for the perfect sound and everything. Okay, so off-ear headphones, these things sound awesome at first. They sound awesome at first. And if you work at Microsoft and you can use that awesome ass room they got where you can go in there and it is soundproof as a mofo, and it's got this freaking next generation foam that they got from Area 51 where you walk inside there and people get freaked out because they hear their bodily organs that they've never ever heard in their entire lives, and you could hear like a freaking ant crawling around on the ground because it's so freaking soundproof. If you've got that room, you're in luck because these off-ear headphones are going to be freaking awesome. But if you're a regular normal person living in a normal reality where you've got police sirens, you've got helicopters, you've got barking Rottweilers. Okay, I'm in the hood. All right, I'm in the hood. No, but you've got like a wife yelling at you, right? You got your kids screaming at you. You got people knocking on the door. You got a phone ringing. You got I'm trying to think. Airplanes flying overhead, a million different things. Like all these things take us out of the experience. How many times have you been in an awesome, incredibly awesome, super immersive VR experience and you're so dialed into the world, like you really have forgotten where you're at? And then you hear your wife or your girlfriend and she's in a major ass argument with one of your kids and you're like, shit. Not only has immersion just been totally shot, you also know that you got major drama that's going on out there as when you finally come out of your Siberia man cave and you go back to reality, there's drama waiting for you. So I love this idea, but I don't have a soundproof room. You give me a soundproof room, I love this. But without a soundproof room, I've got some major concerns here. And then people will say, well, dude, don't worry about this, brah. There is a headphone attachment. You don't need to use these special speakers. Well, then you have a situation where you're wondering, what are you missing out on? And then you're also wondering how all the wires are going to connect. Where do you plug in the extra headphones? So I don't know. It's one of those things. So that is the off-ear headphones. And like all of these things, maybe when I actually get the Valve Index and I'm using it for months, like maybe like 75% of these concerns are going to blow away into the wind. I don't know yet. And that's why we're doing this show. We're taking a look at worst case scenarios. I'm giving ammunition. This is straight up ammunition for the Rift S Defense Force. The Rift S Defense Force. This is your ammo, man. This is your show of shows. Okay, you could just go ahead and write all these things down, and the next time you're in a major argument with some Valve Index fanboy, you can try to use all these things. Okay, Number 12. Now, this one is huge. This one is huge. This is huge. This is probably the most underreported situation with the valve index. Now, the thing about this one, though, is it's only going to affect the same people that are affected by the Rift S, okay? So let's go back for a second here. And remember the very first time we got the image of the valve index. What did they highlight in the image? They highlighted the slider, the IPD slider. They leaned into it. You know, it was all about making fun of basically the Rift S and what they're doing with their software IPD adjustment, no legitimate IPD adjustment. So they really, really, really leaned in with that picture, highlighting that IPD adjustment, the physical slider right there. Beautiful thing, right? Wonderful thing, right? But then when we got the actual info dump and we got the actual IPD range, little bit weird. A little bit weird on the IPD range because the IPD range is 58 to 70. 58 to 70. And you would think, wait a minute, with the physical, number 12 is only going to affect Anthony. Maybe so, maybe so. So here's, that's funny. But basically, we're talking 58 to 70, right? 58 to 70. That's a little bit lower than we normally get if you've got a physical slider. Like normally if you got a physical slider, it goes up to like 74 or 73 on the high end, and it goes to like 56 or 57 or something like that on the low end. This is 58 to 70. And when I saw that, I was like, huh, that's interesting. Why? I mean, what? Why? What's going on here? Well, the reason why, folks, is partly to do with this wider FOV and everything, and it's the binocular overlap. Okay, so they've cheated with the binocular overlap. This is the exact same thing that Hewlett-Packard did with the HP Reverb, which is coming out in a couple of days, by the way. And you know what? If I keep getting $100 donations, HP Reverb, here I come, baby. For real, for real. And I'll see how bad that freaking binocular overlap really, really is. But basically, if you're really on the high side or you're really on the low side, this might be something that rears its ugly head at some point in time. Also, I absolutely concede that maybe I don't understand this. I'm not the technical dude. I'm really not. Maybe I don't understand this. And maybe with their lenses and everything, that the reduction in binocular overlap, maybe it's not going to be a big deal. Maybe it's not going to be a problem. I'm just saying I wish my IPD was 65 right about now. That's what I'm going to tell you. I wish my IPD was 65. Okay, let's go ahead and grab number 11 while I take a sip of water. Okay, number 11. Number 11. Okay, so number 11. So one of the beautiful things about the valve index, one of the things that we really like about the valve index is this super low persistent LCD screens. These are custom designed LCD screens. The persistence, incredible. The reduction in persistence. I mean, a tremendous reduction compared to what we had prior to this. But unfortunately, there's a little bit of a downer that comes along with that. The downer that comes along with that is a reduction in brightness and contrast. Okay, so we get the low persistence. That's beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. But there is going to be a reduction in brightness and contrast. Now, I actually have this here at number 11. This actually might be a lot more of a Debbie Downer than I'm thinking it might be. This might be a big Debbie Downer. But you know what? I put this at 11. Obviously, Valve, the people there at Valve, they're making decisions. Valve knows all of this shit. Valve knows every little problem that this headset has, and they know about 27 additional ones that no one else knows about. They know every trade-off they're making, and it's all trade-offs. That's what all of the, go back to Jason Rubin, go back to the interview with Ben Lang of Road to VR. all of this is trade-offs, man. And it's going to be trade-offs for like the next 20 years. We're not going to get a perfect VR headset for probably another 20, 25 years. It's going to be trade-offs. You get this, but you lose that. You get that, but you lose this. You get this, but it's heavier. You get it lighter, but then it's all trade-offs, man. And so this super low persistence, there's a cost. There's a cost that we're going to pay. And it's reduced brightness and it's reduced contrast is a concern. All right, that is a concern. So that is number 11. Okay, now let's get into the top 10, folks. So this is why I didn't just do a top 10, because we've already talked about some critical things. We've talked about some things that are actually legit, and we haven't even got into the top 10 yet. Now let's go ahead and get into the top 10. Okay, so number 10, this is a real one. This is a real one, and this is a legitimate concern that I have for this product. I don't really have, I've never bought a Steam controller. I've never bought Steam Link. I've never bought a Steam machine. I've never bought a physical product from Valve, except for back in like 1999 or whatever, when I bought Half-Life. It was a physical product. It was on a CD, and I bought it at like Software Etc. or Babbage's or something, Electronics Boutique. I've never bought a physical item from Valve since then, and Valve doesn't really have a support history with something of this magnitude. And what's the worst support we've ever seen in our entire lives? It was HTC with the Vive. And the good news, this is actually good news. This is great news. It's great news that HTC was so effing horrible, because Valve is painfully aware of how horrible HTC's service is, because HTC and Valve, even though they're completely separate entities and it's not Valve's responsibility, people still on a subconscious, unconscious kind of, they link Valve, they link the Vive and Valve. And so I'm sure Valve has heard plenty of bullshit about the horrible support from HTC. Now, this is both good and bad. It's both good and bad, because look at, no one can ever be worse than HTC. So it can't possibly be worse. So Valve could not be worse than HTC. We've already seen the worst of customer support that has ever existed. Like Comcast is freaking laughing at HTC's customer support. That's how bad that shit is. So Valve cannot be worse than that. But my big question is has Valve hired like some outside company that is going to deal with this? Is Valve going to set aside enough Valve indexes for a few that are going to, a few bad apples that are going to come off the factory line? This is an unknown quantity. Valve has never done, look, I know they've made physical, I'm not saying Valve has never made a physical product before. I'm not saying Valve has never shipped physical products. And I'm not saying that Valve has never supported their physical products. What I'm saying is they've never dealt with something of this kind of magnitude. And Pseudo Soul says, number 10, don't question Gaben. Dude, we all praise Lord Gaben. All praise Lord Gaben. Once again, my email, info@vrgamerankings.com. I would love to get bumped into the June 28th orders. June 28th. But yeah, I got to be real about this. These are concerns. These are pain points. We don't know. We just don't know what Valve support is. So that's number 10. And that's a legitimate one. I really believe that's a legitimate one. I mean, even in the best case scenario, we just don't know. Okay, so let's get into number 9. Okay, so here we go. Number 9, 144 hertz is going to result in screen tearing in everything but the most simplistic of games. The games with the least amount of geometry going on in the background, the games with the least amount of shaders and like particle effects and all these little things. So yeah, we're going to get our 144 hertz, and it is going to be next level, but we're going to get it in shit like Hollow Ball. Okay, we're going to be playing Hollow Ball in 144 hertz. We're going to be playing Beat Saber in 144 hertz. We're going to be playing simplistic type games in 144 hertz. And everything else is going to be screen tearing on a stick. So as much as we love the 144 hertz, how much of it are we going to get? You know, when we think about, like, you think about maybe the 100 best VR games, like you go to VRGameRankings.com, you look at the top 200 HTC Vive games that are out there. How many of those are going to work at 144 hertz without major screen tearing where you're really going to be able to enjoy it? Now, somebody might say, well, why is this a problem? We know about this. This isn't a problem. This is just a fact. We know about this. This isn't a problem. For example, Flim, 144 hertz is experimental. They're not advertising that you're going to play every game in 144 hertz. Look, I know all of that, but let's also be real. Let's be real, folks. You damn well know that now you're aware of 144 hertz, and once you play Beat Saber in 144 hertz, nothing is going to suffice until you can play everything in 144 hertz. And so you're always going to have that in the back of your mind. Damn it, I wonder what this would be like in 144 hertz. Here I am, I'm slumming it at 120 hertz. What would it be like in 144 hertz? And so you go ahead, you bang it up there to 144, you cross your fingers, you hope for the best, and screen tearing like a mofo. It's a concern, it's a thought process. The screen tearing is because of the LCD screen. It can't, like, once you start to get up to 144, it starts having some problems. Okay, so that is numero 9. Okay, let's continue down the line. We got to get to number 8. Okay, let's see, number 8. Okay, so here's number 8. Number 8, we are paying $1,000 if you're buying the full bundle. You are paying $1,000. And we're not paying $1,000 in 2016. We're paying $1,000 in 2019. We've already had VR for 3 years. You normally expect the prices to start falling after a while. Look at the Rift S, man. It's only $399. You could damn near get 3 of those babies. You could get 2 Rift S's and 1 Oculus Go for the exact same price that you're getting this Valve Index. And we're not getting eye tracking, and we're not getting foveated rendering. Okay, and the reason I bring this one up is because I remember last year talking about, I was laughing at Reckoner VR talking about slumming it at 1.2. I remember last year I was talking about headsets that come out in 2019 over $400. I think this was like a Nostradamus statement that I made. And I said, look, or not necessarily a Nostradamus statement, but like, this is the way it should be. And I think what I said in the year 2019, the year of our Lord, the year of Lord Gaben 2019, if you're paying more than $400 for a VR headset, you should get eye tracking and foveated rendering. Like, it's time to move into the future. It's time to have eye tracking. It's time to have foveated rendering. Let's move into the future. Let's embrace our future, right? Okay, I was way the hell off the mark. Obviously, $400 was too low, and 2019 was too early. But 2020, if you pay $500 for a VR headset in 2020, you probably should have eye tracking and foveated rendering. Well, this thing is $1,000. This thing is $1,000. We're getting it in 2019, but it's going to have to carry us for 3 or 4 years. So, that little thing that snaps on, is there any way to add eye tracking and foveated rendering after the fact with that little add-on? I don't know. How are they going to get cameras into your eyeballs from the outside? I don't know how that's going to work. So I don't think we're getting eye tracking or foveated rendering. This is probably not that big of a deal, but it's just when you're paying so much money, you kind of expect everything, including the kitchen sink. You expect it all. And we're not getting eye tracking. We're not getting foveated rendering. I thought we were going to move to this new era. What is Toby doing, by the way? Toby, like, where are you, bro? No eye tracking. Like, where's these headsets that are going to have eye tracking? What happened to that? Okay, so that's number 8. Let's go ahead and move on to number 7. Number 7. I think it's this one right here. Okay, number 7. So, let's talk resolution. Let's talk resolution for a minute. 1440 by 1600. Kind of weak sauce, right? Am I right? Okay, so 1440 by 1600. Look, it's not a bad resolution. That's what we're getting with our Oculus Quest. So everybody that pre-ordered from GameStop, just like me, on the 21st, you're going to pick up your Oculus Quest and you're going to be banging away at 1440 by 1600 with your OLED screen. It's going to be a nice thing. If you got an HTC Vive Pro, you've got 1440 by 1600. If you've got either Samsung Odyssey, you've got 1440 by 1600, and it's really a nice thing. It's an awesome, nice thing. Here's the thing though, none of those headsets have a 135 degree field of view. So we're spreading this 1440 by 1600 across a much bigger field of view compared to the Oculus Quest. In fact, the Oculus Quest might have like a 90 degree field of view. It's a little bit caved in a little bit on that Oculus Quest. Samsung Odyssey, 110 degree field of view. HTC Vive Pro, 110 degree field of view. So we're going up to 135. You're taking that same resolution and you're spreading it over these extra degrees, which means a lower pixel per degree for the Valve Index. Now, ultimately, I think this is probably going to be fine here because, again, it goes back to trade-offs. It goes back to, Valve, look, I trust Valve. I'm sure they did everything they possibly could do to pack as much technology into this thing as humanly possible, but trade-offs have to be made. And so they decided to go 1440 by 1600. It's not bad at all, but we're starting to enter this world. In fact, it starts on May 6th. It starts in 3 days. Is May 6th Monday? I guess it's Monday. So Monday, we begin the era of 2160 by 2160 per eyeball. We are in the 2160 by 2160 era when we get our HP reverbs, when we get our Acer Oho Concept Ds. What a beautiful name that is. And probably when we get the Vive Cosmos. I need to get a sip of water. Hold on a sec. Okay. When we get the Vive Cosmos, probably 2160 by 2160. So, you have your Valve Index and you're like, man, this is awesome. I got a Valve Index. It's the freaking state of the art. It's the best thing ever. You go to your buddy's house. He's got an HP Reverb. He's playing Firmament. He's out there on Mount Everest looking at the beautiful scene. It's a freaking blizzard happening all around him. And he's like, oh, dude, this is so freaking awesome. Dude, check this out. You put his headset on and you're like, whoa, there's some extra resolution going on here. Looks pretty good. You got to go back home to your Valve Index and you're like, damn. Oh, here we go. Carlos Cervantes commented, 1440 by 1600. I was really hoping for those 2K screens. Damn is right. In fact, Carlos Cervantes, absolutely. That's why we have it at number 7. It's on the list right here because PPD, BVD, DVD. PPD is a reduction. It is not the king of PPD. The Valve Index is not the king of PPD. 1440 by 1600. Kind of weak sauce. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. Okay, let's go to number 6. Let's go to number 6. Okay, this one is this is a monster. Okay, this is huge. Now you might say, what does this have to do with the actual Valve Index itself? We're talking hardware here, and you're saying that there's no Valve game at launch and that this is a big deal. I say this is a really big deal because think about it. you think about Valve. Okay, so the Valve Index was coming out on June 28th, or it's going to start shipping on June 28th, or people are going to start receiving them June 28th, or whatever the hell it is, right? June 28th is a date that was carved into stone. And Valve probably has known about that date for a very long time. They've been working on this game. The game is not making that date. The game is... But anyways, I'm getting some kind of error message from OBS Studio. I don't know what that is. I'll ignore it. Okay, but they've had this date for so incredibly long. And then here we are. Now it reconnects. Guarantee. Because, they've been talking all kinds of things. And, I'm concerned, man. I'm concerned because we need this game this year. This game has to be this year. And the fact that it missed June 28th tells me that it's obviously got a lot of work still to be done in all likelihood. So what's the guarantee that we're going to play this in 2019? I think this is kind of a problem. You might say it's unrelated to the Valve Index, but it's all part of the program, right? I think it's all part of the program. I am very concerned about this. There's no Valve game at launch because way before we ever heard this, everybody was like, the Valve game's going to be available on day one. The Valve game's going to be available. Everybody was saying this. The Valve game was going to be available on day one. Then we found out, no Valve game on day one. And everybody just blew it off like, it's no big deal. It's coming in 2019. I don't know. This makes me concerned. I'm concerned. I'm concerned about this. As long as it comes in 2019, it's all good. But I just, what would I put the odds? Seriously, if Vegas was going to have odds on this Valve VR game coming out in 2019, what would those odds be? It would be like 50-50, man. It'd be like a coin flip, in my opinion. So this is if you think it's a 90% chance that this Valve game is coming out this year, you're kidding yourself. I really think you're kidding yourself. I don't think it's a 90% chance. It might be a 75% chance, but I don't think it's 90. And I do believe this is a concern. Okay, let's go to number 5. Because some people aren't feeling that one. So let's go to number 5. Okay, number 5. This is where we start to get into the nitty gritty. Inferior blacks to OLED. Inferior blacks to OLED. Okay, so this is something, if you talk to Sebastian, about LCD, you've got about 30 seconds possibly before you're going to hear a mention inferior blacks. Inferior blacks, the inky blacks of OLED, the inky blacks and the gray blacks of LCD. And if you're a horror game fan, God damn it, this might not be the machine for you. If you are an Elite Dangerous fan, this might not be the machine for you. Now, the good thing about the inferior blacks, look, the blacks are inferior. This is just a known quantity, but there is some good news here. The good news is LCD has improved by leaps and bounds. In this specific department, they've improved a lot. You still don't want to do an A-B comparison, though. You do not want to do an A-B comparison with the real deal with like a Samsung. No, don't do that because you will then see the difference. But the good news is, if you're just playing a Valve Index and that's all you're playing, and you're playing a Go and you're playing a Rift S, if you don't have an OLED VR headset that you're ever using, you're eventually going to get accustomed to not having the really true blacks, and it's not going to be an issue. So that's the good news. That is the good news. The bad news is a lot of us are going to have Oculus Quests, and we're going to have an OLED that can do pretty good blacks, and we're going to be noticing these blacks. And then we're going to go back to our Valve Index, and we're going to notice that they aren't quite as black. And so it's going to be a bit of a frustration there. But yeah, I mean, this is a trade-off. This is one of the biggest trade-offs you're ever going to get when you go LCD or you go OLED. It's a real deal trade-off. This is just part of the package. Inferior blacks, come along for the ride. Okay, let's go to number 4. Numero 4. Okay, so number 4, inferior color pop. inferior color pop compared to OLED. This is the other one. I actually think this is a bigger deal. Okay, do you guys know Tyrell Wood, the YouTuber Tyrell Wood? Whenever he starts talking about these LCDs, he doesn't immediately go to the blacks. He doesn't immediately go to the fact that your blacks are kind of gray. He goes to the color pop. And you know what? I think I'm very similar to that guy because you know what? When I play my Oculus Go, I don't really notice the lackluster blacks as much as I notice the lack of a color pop. And OLED, you get a color pop with OLED. I was at GDC. I was playing, what do you call it? I was playing the Oculus Quest, and I was playing Sports Scramble, kind of the Wii Tennis sports game. And a lot of people are like, oh, that's just a goofy little tennis game. The graphics aren't that great. No, dude, that shit looked good. That shit looked really good because it was very vibrant. It just, bam, it was just popping off the screen. The colors were popping. It was like pop rocks. Those colors were popping aplenty, all right? And when you go to LCD, you don't get the color pop. You really don't. And there are improvements. Improvements have been made to LCD in response to the blacks. The blacks have gotten better. Color pop, I don't know that the color pop has been improved on LCDs very much at all, if any. This is gonna, and in fact, this is for all the Rift S people out there. Like these are the issues that Rift S people are going to be dealing with. They're going to be dealing with number 5 and number 4 as well. And I honestly think number 4 is a bigger deal. I think that the lack of the color pop is a problem. So that is number 4. Okay, so let's go to number 3. We're winding down, guys. We are winding down to your number 1 countdown. Okay, so let's get to number 3. Okay, number 3. Now this might be the one that just absolutely kills it for somebody like Reckoner VR. Gary from VR Roundtable. Some people are really susceptible to God rays. Like they really, really notice God rays and it bothers the living crap out of them, right? Luckily, I'm not one of those guys. Like, I've never really I always hear people like, oh my God, the God rays, the horror, the God rays, it's so awful, I can't stand it. And then I got the Oculus Go and I'm like, whoa, there's no God rays, it's so much better. The God rays have been damn near eliminated. There's people out there that just rant and rave about the Oculus Go because of the reductions of God rays. I've never been that guy. I notice God rays when it's a black, completely black screen, and then you're getting the title, and the title's in white. That's when I notice God rays. But other than that, I don't really notice them. I mean, I'm sure they're there, but I just ignore them or whatever. I don't really see the God rays. But for some of you guys, holy moly, this is going to be a big one. Like, this could be a deal breaker for some of you guys. Some of you guys might even return or sell. Well, you're probably going to scalp your Valve Index. Those of you that are getting an early one, if God rays is like a major pet peeve for you, this may be a biggin, is the way we like to call it. Okay. And so the good news is the only people I've heard talking about the God rays is Road to VR, right? Road to VR is the only people I've heard that have been talking about God rays. So I do find it kind of weird that no one else has talked about the God rays. Like, I don't remember Norman Chan talking about the God rays. I don't remember anybody else that has seen the Valve Index live and in person. I don't remember them talking about the God rays. But basically, Road to VR, I believe they said that this was kind of just a side effect. Like, this is just a reality of the way they're doing. Okay, so there is another report. Wait, nope, there was one report from Road to VR. Yeah, no, this is not speculative. I've heard this from somebody. It's not my thing. What I'm saying is I haven't heard anybody else mention God rays. But, was Ben Lang the one that got his head inside that Valve Index? Because Ben Lang knows his shit. Ben Lang knows his stuff. I trust Ben Lang. So I don't know. The God rays, number 3, man, that's a big one. I mean, for some people, this is probably number 1. For some people, this is number 1 with a bullet. Okay, so let's go to number 2. We're almost getting down to the nitty gritty. Okay, so here we go. Let's go to number 2. Number 2, price. Price. I know you guys thought number 1 was going to be price. No, number 2 is price. Number 2 is price. Now, personally, I think this thing might be about $200 more than it needs to be. And I'm not going to get into a lengthy price discussion here, but it's just like the base stations and the controllers. Like, I have no problem, like the way the headset is priced. Like, if you buy the headset a la carte, the headset is awesome. You buy the headset a la carte, it's awesome. I mean, you get it for $500 or whatever. I mean, it's a steal of a deal, right? But then, god damn, are they hammering us on these controllers? And they're hammering us on the base stations. I can kind of understand it when it comes to the controllers, because the controllers are a new thing. The controllers are a new product that they've had to create, and they've done so many iterations. They've spent so much research and development. They've been in development for so long. I can kind of understand the controllers costing so much, but goddamn, imagine if your controller breaks and you got to buy another set of these controllers. It's like $300 damn near for a pair of these controllers. That is crazy town as far as I'm concerned. And then you got the lighthouses. Like everybody was saying, this was way before we got all the Valve Index info dump. And everybody was telling me, no, dude, Valve, they manufacture these themselves. We're not going to see these outrageous HTC type prices. We're not going to see the price gouging because this is Valve. They make them themselves and they're going to sell them at cost. Well, I don't know what's going on here, but I honestly believe the price is a bit on the high side. If it was $799.99, I'd have absolutely no problem with it. $699, I'd have no problem with it. Even $849.99, I just feel like the price is like, damn. That is, and this was the main reason why I wasn't stressing out about getting my pre-order in. I didn't realize the scalpers were going to come out of the woodwork, but that's a whole nother ballgame there. Okay, but yeah, price is an issue. So I guess you guys are wondering, what is number 1? What is number 1? Let's go ahead and take a look at it. What is numero uno? Number 1. Lack of supply, baby. Lack of supply. A scalper's paradise. This is a concern for me from a number of... Okay, this is one of these things where like 5-7 months from now, this is a complete and utter non-issue. We hope this is a non-issue 5 or 7 months from now. I mean, everybody thinks this will be a non-issue 5 or 7 months from now. I don't know for sure that this will be a non-issue 5 or 7 months from now. See, the bottom line here, this goes back to Valve and like the support and this product of this kind of magnitude and doing this kind of a product, manufacturing a product like this, the assembly lines, the factories, what is their manufacturing capacity? There's a couple of questions we can ask here. Number 1, how many Valve Indexes are sitting in a warehouse in Bellevue, Washington right now as we speak? How many are there right now? There should be like 40,000 of them there. There should be. Is there? I don't know. I don't know that there's 40,000. And honestly, I think there probably isn't 40,000 based on how many have sold out so quickly. And then the other question is, how many can they manufacture per month? And I would have to do some internet research on this, and I haven't done the research, so I don't know. But when it comes to PlayStation 4 or Xbox One or so many of these different video game products, we would actually hear, sometimes we would hear stories. Oh, Sony is able to manufacture 15,000 PlayStation 4s every month. Sometimes we hear this information. It takes, they can manufacture 15,000 units per month, and they've already got 60,000 units manufactured, and they've still got 3 months until launch. So they're going to have this many different, whatever it is, right? I've heard different estimates. Some people say, oh, they could probably manufacture 8,000 per month. Some people think they can manufacture 10,000 per month, 15,000 per month. something in that kind of range. We don't know. We don't know what they can manufacture per month. And Valve is not... See, the thing is, Valve, they're trying to do this themselves, and I respect them for doing that, and I appreciate that they want to control, like they want this to be a closed loop. They want to control the whole entire deal here. And so they want to actually manufacture it. They want to do everything right. But the thing is, comparing Valve's manufacturing capacity to somebody like Sony for PlayStation 5 is like comparing apples to oranges, because Sony has done this a million different times. Sony has multiple factories. Sony has, years, like decades and decades of experience in manufacturing products like this. Does Valve have any experience? No, look, I know they did the Steam controller. They've done other things. I know this isn't the very first thing they've ever manufactured in their life. Obviously, they've been manufacturing the Valve Index controllers that have been out there. They're doing this. They're doing this right now as we speak. They're doing this. This is happening. But they don't have the expertise. So I think there's a concern in two different areas where, number one, we don't know how many they've already stockpiled up until this point in time. And then number two, we don't know what their monthly supply is. And then number three, a scalper's paradise. This really sucks. This really frickin' sucks. I hate it when there's a shortage like this. I hate the fact that there are people out there with no scruples whatsoever. I used to do this, so shame on me. Like way back in the days, I bought like an extra place. When the Nintendo Wii came out, I had like 3 extra Nintendo Wiis, and I sold some. I'm suffering. I'm suffering, man. This is my payback. Payback is a bitch. Payback is a bitch. I bought extra Nintendo Wiis, and I flipped those bitches, and it's like, damn it, now it's coming back to bite me. It is a scalper's paradise, guys. Think about this. Think of all the countries. Some people might even... there might be people out there that really wanted to keep their Valve Index for themselves, but now they're like, fuck, I could double up. Man. There might be somebody in South Africa that'll pay $2,800 to get my Vive Index. Oh shit. There might be somebody in South Africa that will be like, dude, I'll give you 3,000 crazy euro coins or something. Give me your Valve Index. There's Canadians. Hell, Jay Pace might be willing to pay $2,500 for one of these things. There's Canadians that are getting boned. And so people are going to scalp the living shit out of this thing if the scarcity is real, brah. That's the other question. Is the scarcity real? Is it a marketing ploy? Lots of questions here. But guess what, guys? This isn't the real number one. This is not the real number one. The lack of supply is not the real number one. I'm going to give you guys the real number one. Here's the real number one. Okay, yeah, no, this is not the real number one. This is not the real number one. I'm going to give you the real number one. This is the real number one. The real number one pain point for the Valve Index. This is the real number one. FOMO like a mofo. FOMO like a mofo. And what am I talking about? Okay, here's what I'm talking about. When you get your Valve Index, it is going to be a non-stop thing that is going to be in the back of your mind, wondering how much better your experience could be if you had that 2080 Ti in the window, that little puppy dog in the window. If you had that 2080 Ti in that Micro Center window, how much better would your experience be? Okay, how much? And then let's say you're Steve Bishop. You got a 2080 Ti. You're balling out of control. You're driving a Ferrari 458 Spider. You're living in a $20 million mansion. Steve Bishop is baller extraordinaire. He's got a 2080 Ti. But you know what? Even Steve is going to wonder in the back of his mind, what's the next GPU coming from NVIDIA? And how much better would it be with that next GPU that we don't even have yet? So this is going to be a never-ending problem, except for maybe Notch or a few people out there that could freaking have 5 different 2080 Ti's, liquid-cooled, and freaking NASA scientists come in there and somehow wire all that shit together so that you can play every single game in experimental 144 hertz. You know, because that's what we're all going to want to do. We're all going to want to do this. The other thing about this being the pain point is think about, like, for me personally, look, I've got a 1080 Ti. It works pretty good. But you know what? I'm not going to be able to play all the shit that Steve's going to be able to play in 100. I'm going to be slumming it at 120 hertz. Steve is going to be living large at 144 hertz. So it's FOMO like a mofo. It's FOMO like a mofo. How many of us can buy a Valve Index and turn around and buy a 2080 Ti? Not that many of us, goddammit. And some of us don't even have a 1080 Ti. Some of us would dream of a 1080 Ti, much less a 2080 Ti. Okay, thanks, Captain Obvious. But no, are people talking about this? This is a real thing, man. This might be the worst part of the Valve Index altogether, is always wondering how much better the experience can be. I really think... And then also just the freaking, the amount that you're just going to be penniless. I mean, this is going to break your bank. It's going to break my bank. You're going to see Beat Saber at 144 hertz. You're going to be ruined for life. You're going to play Hollow Ball at 144 hertz. Tree Fortress Games. Where are you guys anyways? You're going to be playing Hollow Ball at 144 hertz. It's going to be so next gen. But then you're going to realize you can't play nothing else. You got like 5 games you can play at 144 hertz. And then what are you going to do? You're going to get that extra equity line on your house. That's what you're going to do. And you're going to grab a 2080 Ti. And then you're going to find out you still can't play a lot of shit on that 2080 Ti. And so you're going to start thinking about Navi and Ravi and Javi. And you're going to be thinking about... Intel. You know, Intel is getting in the discrete graphics card game. Intel is going to save us. Intel's going to save us. You know, the one takeaway from this whole entire thing is buy some NVIDIA stock. Dude, do you know that NVIDIA's stock was down at like $128 a share? Like, what was it, like last October or something? Last October, NVIDIA's stock was down to like 100. Where is NVIDIA's stock now? And where is NVIDIA's stock going to be when people start playing Beat Saber at 144 hertz and they realize they want to play everything at 144 hertz? It's FOMO like a mofo, or mofo like a FOMO, something like that. So that is the real number one pain point. Alrighty, guys. Well, you know what? That pretty much is going to go ahead and do it. We've gone for quite some time. Let me see. How long have we gone so far here? Yeah, we're up at 1 hour and 18 minutes and counting. There is other news and stuff, but I'm going to have to go ahead and save that for tomorrow's episode, Saturday. And Saturday, noon Pacific time. We do it noon Pacific time on Saturday. Usually we pretty much follow F Reality pretty much. So if you want to go ahead and check out the F Reality podcast, we typically pretty much follow that. In fact, I might try to delay, like if they're not done by noon, maybe I'll go ahead and delay our show, you know, like an extra 15 minutes, 20 minutes or whatever for F Reality to end. And so that's what we do. Tomorrow, Saturday, we are at noon. All right, so let me go ahead and just grab my little outro logo out from this deal here. And yeah, so that's pretty much going to go ahead and do it for our show today. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. And just as a final little wrap-up thing, I just wanted to say, look, I can't wait. I mean, come on, man. I can't wait for the Valve Index. I really can't. I want to play the Valve Index so freaking bad. I want to experience the hyper reality of being on like 5 Jolt Colas. Dude, I cannot wait. The low persistence, 144 hertz mode, like all the little bells and whistles that this thing does. I cannot wait. I'm going to have the screen, that dial is going to be maxed out. I'm going to have my eyeball so close to that goddamn screen. Boneworks, all those games. Oh my God, it's going to be so incredible. I cannot wait for this. Look, I just wanted to do a show to consider any of the possible negatives out there. Let's just consider them. Let's be aware of them. Let's understand that. And every single headset under the sun, every single headset has positives and negatives, goods and bads, good things, bad things. And let's just understand it. And then we'll be better consumers for it when we finally get it. We already know some of these things, so like it's not going to come as a dramatic shock. We're not going to be shocked by crazy when we find out that the binocular overlap. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, anyway, guys, that's going to go ahead and do it. Make sure to go ahead and hit the like button if you guys can. Before you bounce out of here, hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe to this channel if you've never subscribed before. What else? You could certainly shoot me a PayPal donation. Look, straight up, Hussein X donated 100 buccarinis. And I'm telling you, donations like this is incredible because guess what? 2080 Ti, yeah! 2080 Ti, there it is. Hussein X donated $100. All of that is going to headsets, but eventually 2080 Ti, baby. No FOMO for this mofo. No FOMO for this mofo. And if you're a Valve employee, please, for the love of God, contact Lord Gaben, our Savior. Give him my email, info@vrgamerankings.com, and bump me up the list. I want to be on that June 28th. All right, guys, have a great one. Have a wonderful Friday. Oh, check this out. Last thing I'll say, Blasters of the Universe. Blasters of the Universe. It's free on the Rift store right now. I believe, straight up, Blasters of the Universe, best pure gameplay of any wave shooter ever. The best gameplay of any wave shooter. But here's the caveat. It takes a little while to see the brilliance. If you play Blasters of the Universe for 40 minutes, you might be like, what the hell is Anthony talking about? No, it's one of these things where you play Blasters of the Universe for 3 or 4 hours, then you're like, oh shit, the gameplay is freaking redonkulous. Blasters of the Universe, it's a free weekend on the Oculus Rift store. Be sure to enjoy that. And I will see you guys tomorrow. So everybody have a wonderful Friday. Take it easy. Later.